Good afternoon, without the technical difficulties now. I am Tom Daugherty. I am a social studies consultant at DPI, and I'm also a member of the DLI team. Thank you for joining us for our quarterly webinar series that kicks off today. Today's topic will be authentic assessment in the DLI classroom. Our goal of the webinar series is to provide timely and quality professional learning opportunities for you to use and share in your educational settings. So joining me today are Kelly Schultz, who is an ELA consultant at DPI and also a member of the DLI team. Well, everybody here will be a member of the DLI team. Ivana Manthrower-Anderson, who is an ESOL consultant and Title III, is that right? Yep, good. And Anne-Marie Gunter, who is the World Languages consultant. So the first thing we're going to do today is look at authentic assessment in the DLI classroom. We're going to give you some information about the upcoming professional development on the Thomas and Collier book study, and then there will be some more updates on state, regional, and national things that are going on in the world of DLI. So we've already covered this, but for anybody who has just joined us, we want to make sure that you can hear what's going on. So if you could, please, if you're hearing audio, just raise your hand real quick, and we can make sure that everybody is hearing what we're saying, which is always a good thing. All right, looks like most people have raised their hands. If you have a question or concern at any time, feel free to put it into the text box there, and it will, we have people monitoring it so that we can make sure and take your questions as well. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be available and posted about 1 week from today. So you will also have access to it there. So before we really get in today, we want to sort of see what you hope to gain from this. So we're going to put a quick poll up on the screen. Shortly. All right, so now it is up. So take just a minute and feel free to check all that apply. And we'll give you just a minute and then we'll display the results. All right, hopefully everyone has had a chance to respond. So let's put the results up. And we can see that most people hope to be sharing this information they're going to gain from here with their colleagues back at their schools. And then it's pretty evenly split between administrators that are looking at materials for local presentations, or educators looking for licensure renewal contact hours, or just anonymous people who stumbled onto this webinar. So welcome, anonymous people. Okay. Okay, so now we want to get into the authentic assessment and the DLI classroom. And so Kelly's going to walk us through that a little bit.
Good afternoon. So today's expected outcomes for our professional learning section are to understand the purpose of measurement. We're going to determine its uses for quantitative measures, the use for quantitative measures, and determine the importance of qualitative measures. And then, of course, we're going to then identify tools for assessment inquiry. So we're going to begin today's learning with thinking about the purpose of measurement. So let's take another quick poll and see what we all believe about measurement and its place within our DLI program. So what do you believe is the purpose of measurement? We're going to launch that. Please select one. Okay, and it looks like most of us have voted, so we're going to close that and share our results. It looks like the majority of us, 83%, believe that the purpose of measurement is to promote growth, and then we have 17% of us that want to assess student mastery. So that's a good baseline for what we're going to talk about today. So, in order to accomplish all the answer options in the poll, it's crucial to understand that the ultimate purpose of measurement is, as like everyone mostly agreed upon, is to promote growth. That could be growth of students, growth of teachers, administrators, the district as a whole, etc. If we continue to look at measurement for only the purpose of seeing how we did, then is it an effective purpose? Data should be used to drive our decisions and planning in order to bring the future into the present.
So that's just a little bit about qualitative measures, or I'm sorry, the purpose of measurement. So we're going to talk a little bit about quantitative measures now. In other words, what is working and who is learning? It is crucial to understand why quantitative data is only one piece of the measurement puzzle. A very persuasive graph for why DLI is an effective and educational structure for students is the research done and data collected by Thomas and Collier depicting learners' long-term achievement. As you see, this chart shows multilingual students outpacing their peers. However, notice the initial lag on early literacy assessments. Results find that there is a lag for young learners. One reason for this may be that we are not looking at students' full linguistic repertoire. Here, we have an infographic to help explain this assessment lag. If by second grade a student knows 18,000 words in Spanish and 4,000 words in English, then he or she has a total word knowledge of 22,000. But if the assessment only measures the learner's proficiency in English, then it appears that this student is behind his or her monolingual peer who has a total knowledge of 20,000 words. Measuring language acquisition in languages other than English can help to provide more detailed information about individual learners. The Center for Applied Linguistics is working in collaboration with Georgetown University to establish the Assessment and Evaluation Language Resource Center. How would you say that acronym? Anyone?
AELRC.
AELRC. ALERC? All right. So funded by the U.S. Department of Education. The goal of AELRC is to enhance and expand the nation's foreign language educational capacity and to improve world language learning outcomes by providing leadership, scholarship, and outreach in the practices of world language assessment and program evaluation to language teachers, program administrators, and researchers working in K-16 language education settings. The DLI Advisory Board is currently working to create a list of all assessments used for second language acquisition in North Carolina. We hope that this list will help to advise other programs in the state when looking for effective assessment tools.
Okay, so to have a purposeful assessment system, make sure that you have clear ways to define what is success for your learners, teachers, school, and district. One way to do this is to use qualitative data to approach assessment as inquiry rather than just measurement. This creates a more complex, well-rounded conversation about the why of data. So in order to approach assessment as inquiry, we need to promote the understanding of what growth looks like in multiple ways. So as mentioned earlier, we need to establish what success looks like for its intended purpose. For example, if our intended outcome is for teachers to increase effective use of research-based instructional strategies in the classroom, then we would use classroom observations as a qualitative measure. However, to make sure success is clearly defined, there needs to be a rubric or walkthrough tool that is used by trained individuals to ensure the data provides accurate information about the teacher's use of such strategies. So, another way to look at success criteria is to use qualitative data that informs how students apply what they are learning. So, if success looks like students using academic discourse in the classroom, then we can use maps of classroom flow to determine who is using expressive language and in which language they are doing so. If success looks like students using the target language to write about or illustrate a content area standard, then we can look at student work to determine how groups of students within the program are performing in relationship to their monolingual peers. And if success looks like students setting goals and tracking their language progress, then Linguafolio can be used to showcase a student's proficiency. Going back to what success criteria looks like for qualitative data that informs how teachers use research-based instructional strategies, we can use observations using a rubric as in our earlier example. And we can use teacher research journals that promote intentional systematic inquiry into the classroom. These encourage teachers to work in collaboration with other colleagues to determine the best approaches to student learning and to review, reflect, and revise their practice, ultimately leading to their growth as well as the students, which goes back to our purpose of measurement that we started with today. So by using multiple data points, we are able to truly determine what your success looks like, as well as provide timely data to inform decision-making for individual learners as well as programming. So we have one more poll to ask you about assessment, so please take a moment to answer the poll question on your screen. What types of measurement tools are used in your DLI program to measure target language acquisition? Okay, looks like most people have voted. And it looks like 75% of us use both qualitative and quantitative tools. Feel free to add in the questions box any measurement tools that you use along with your district and grade level, and maybe where the assessments are used to help us build that list of assessments we were talking about with our DLI advisory board. The next thing we're going to talk about is some more upcoming professional development on the Thomas and Collier book study.
So before we change the topics, did we have any questions that we wanted to address? So right now I don't see any questions, but do think about what we've shared with you on authentic assessment in DLI classrooms. This is an important topic for all of us, and I know we'll be talking about it more as we continue on through this school year.
Okay, so continue to think about that if you want, while we talk a little bit about some of our upcoming professional development, because I know when I've seen some of you in person, you've had lots of questions and lots of thought about the data and the assessment. So upcoming professional development, you have heard us talking about the Thomas and Collier book study number 1 on the Blue Book, Educating English Learners for a Transformed World. So as we know, this is the beginning of a series of books by Thomas and Collier, starting with the Blue Book. and then moving to the red book. So when we go from the blue book, which focuses on English learners and begins talking about the power of dual language immersion education, we then move into the series that talks more and more in depth about dual language education for a transformed world, which is the red book, which many of you know highlights the work in North Carolina in Chapter 5. So we will begin work very soon on the book study for the red book. After the red book comes the green book. The green book, Creating Dual Language Schools for a Transformed World, looking at administrators, is the third book in the series by Drs. Thomas and Collier. And some of our North Carolina educators are also featured in this green book. So we are starting with the blue book, moving to the red, to the green, and next, I bet some of you can yell out the colors at this point. Why dual language schooling in the tan book, which is sort of a compressed compilation of much of the information that you find in the green book for administrators. It's a great book to get into the hands of administrators, people in the community, school boards, really helping people to understand at a glance why dual language schooling. And as our dual language programs, immersion programs have grown, we have really looked at continuation programs into the middle and high schools. And so the latest book, the purple book, which again highlights some of our North Carolina educators, talks about moving into the middle and high school programs. So we're very excited to be offering the book study on the blue book, knowing that it is the beginning of a series of book studies that we will be able to offer to you from DPI. So with book study number 1, registration is live and growing quickly. So we know that this has been sent out on various different platforms. I would believe to say we're going to have a waiting list at this point because we have a large interest across the state in people wanting to participate in this online offering. One of the things that you can do when you register for this course is choose 1 CEU or 2 CEUs. We have 2 options. In our pilot study, the participants said, you know, it would be really great if we had the option to join the book study, read the book, participate in the online conversations, but not have to complete the quizzes and the discussion forums. We really want to learn more, but right now we don't have time to do all of that. So we have an option where you can register for 1 CEU. For those of you that really want to dig deep, take the quizzes, and get 2 CEUs, you have that option as well. So we're excited to offer 2 ways for you to join us in this book study. The dates, as you can see below, run from October to November, all on Tuesday evenings from 4 to 5:30. We've given it an hour and a half because, again, there's great interest and we want time for people on the broadcast to have the opportunity to discuss what they've read, to ask questions, maybe to talk about different kinds of assessment and the data they're collecting as part of this study. All North Carolina educators are welcome, especially if you're working for ELs, and if that's in the ESL, if it's in heritage language, native speakers, and especially for our 2-way DLI programs. Even if you know nothing about dual language education, if you're working with English learners, this book study will be very beneficial for you. I'm going to turn it over to Anne-Marie unless we have some questions.
We do have a question, and we're going to quickly go back to the topic of assessment. Please give us a moment. We are working as a team here behind the scenes for you today. And so I'm going to send a link to my colleague to go to it so that we can share with you some information that you've requested that we put on screen. I noticed that the question that came up was, can you mention some assessments that are used in DLI classrooms? And let's go ahead and do that. Great. Kelly's bringing up our list. One of the things we've been talking about as a DLI team for a long time is how do we assess language proficiency in the classroom? Now, that's something that we also brought up with our DLI advisory board, and as you know, they're a representative group from across the state, K-20, on our many DLI programs, and advised us in general across the state on how to best meet the needs and answer the questions that come up in DLI programs. And so one of the things that they've been looking at is DLI assessment. So you'll notice on this, from their last meeting, we had asked members from various districts of the DLI Advisory Board to go ahead and list by grade level the different kinds of program assessments they're using. And specifically, they listed things like their DLI program language assessment, so whatever target language. And as you know, we have 8 different target languages, so that's an interesting challenge. Any other language assessments they use, and then other content assessments. In the other content assessments, sometimes they listed the things that we all use for things like K-3 literacy and so forth, or end of grade EOG exams. But what we really wanted to focus on was thinking about language proficiency assessment, either English or the DLI program language. And so you see there for kindergarten, there are a number of assessments. Some groups have used their district's abbreviation. So WSFCS is, of course, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Schools. And they use different ones. You can see their list, and you can see that Chatham County Schools, Buncombe County, Catawba, Mount Airy, Union, etc., use these different assessments. So someone had asked specifically about mentioning some assessments. So those are some of them. Those in that first column, as I said, are for the target language. So the SOPA is a Spanish language assessment. It's something that a district can get trained on and have people, usually their teachers who teach in Spanish or their Spanish teachers in general, assess students. SOPA is one of the few assessments available for early language learners. So think K2, that kind of age range. Then you see some other ones. So as we scroll down from kindergarten on to first grade and second grade and so forth, you'll see some like the apple or the stamp. Those are assessments that are available online through various vendors. You see some different things that have been created at the district level. For example, there are districts that work with organizations like Participate, and sometimes they have created assessments that are used in this way. And they bring in all the things that Kelly talked about with qualitative and quantitative assessment, as well as observations and different other different tools that we discuss when it comes to assessment. So those are the kinds of assessments that districts are using. We're hoping to share more of this information as we develop it and make it a resource for our DLI programs. So I hope we've answered the question that I saw in the question box. And don't worry about what your school has available or not compared to some of these other schools or districts. We're all learning from each other. And so you can always add to your repertoire of the tools and different kinds of assessment measures that you feel are important for your DLI program. Any other questions? We got a thanks for that person who asked that question. So it sounds like we answered that for today. And like I said, we'll have additional information available later. So with that, let's go on to updates. And these are just state, regional, and national updates. Most of them have to do with professional development conferences or opportunities that you may want to be aware of for your DLI program. We'll start with the state, because those are the ones we can most often participate in. Please be aware that the FLANK Fall Conference is coming up. FLANK is the Foreign Language Association of North Carolina. It is our professional home for all language educators. And so FLANK 2019 will be held in Winston-Salem, October 25th and 26th. Please go ahead and know that registration is open at the link you see there. And it includes 50-minute sessions, research roundtables, 3-hour workshops, and pre-conference webinars. Just so you know, from a DLI perspective, there are actually 10 sessions specifically designed for DLI programs and 3 different workshops, in addition to the many other sessions and research roundtables that will involve DLI as well as language topics that are of interest to all language educators. As part of that, FLANK offers beginning teacher scholarships. These are for K-12 teachers in their first, second, or third year of teaching. The scholarships include the registration fee and 1 workshop at no cost. And you can submit your application online by Tuesday, October 1st. And that link there on the slide is also available in the notes, which we'll post later. And you may have seen that information as well on our listservs as we shared it. Also available from Plank is a Mitchell Buck Scholarship, and that is specifically for a student in their final year of World Language Teacher Licensure programs at any North Carolina college or university. This is a $1,000 award with the winner selected after a phone or online interview. And those applications, just like the other scholarships, are due Tuesday, October 1st. And finally, from Flank, something for all of us to know about, Flank offers member mini grants. And once you attend a Flank conference, you automatically become a member. So you can submit a proposal to get $500 for a project that helps promote language education. All current Flank members are eligible, including K-12 teachers and administrators, university instructors, and representatives of local professional organizations or nonprofits that promote language teaching in our state. So that's something to keep in mind and to consider, especially when you think about promoting your DLI program and how you share that with your community or just in general across your area. Those mini grant applications are due by Friday, November 15th, so there's a little bit of time even after the Flank conference to think about what you might want to submit. All right, that was it for the state updates. I'm going to check. I don't see any questions. So we'll go on to regional. The only regional update we have to share with you today is for the SCOLT conference. SCOLT is the Southern Conference on Language Teaching. That is our regional organization. So Flank is our state and SCOLT is our region. SCOLT encompasses 12 different states across the southeastern part of the U.S., including the territories of the Virgin Islands. So that we're all in this together. SCOLT conference is in the spring, and registration will open soon. It will be March 26th to the 28th. It's always in our region somewhere in one of the member states, and this year it'll be in Mobile, Alabama. So you see the logo there, and note that there will be 50-minute sessions for K-20 language educators and research to practice sessions. SCOLT, much like Flank, does have a DLI strand of sessions that would be of interest to DLI program educators. And it also has pre-conference workshops on March 26th, either half or full days, similar again to the Flank conference with the workshops. Registration rates and details are posted on that SCOLT page you see listed there. Now we move on to the national conferences. The La Cosecha Dual Language Conference is coming up. It will be held November 13th through the 16th. It is always in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because it is partially sponsored by Dual Language Education of New Mexico. For details about that, you can go to their homepage you see listed there, lacosechaconference.org, and they have a lot of information on their schedule and registration tab on the conference website that you may want to check out, especially if you're planning to travel that far and join some of our colleagues there. Just as an aside, I want to let you know that the Thomas E. Collier book study we're doing actually has a very significant connection to the La Cosecha Conference because those authors will be there, and their books were first published through the publishing branch of Dual Language Education of New Mexico. Continuing with our national conferences, the ACTFL, the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, has their annual convention of World Languages Expo a week after the La Cosecha Conference, November 22nd to 24th. It'll be a little closer to us in Washington, D.C. this year. And for details about that, including a schedule of events and the online convention program, I would encourage you to go to the actfl.org website and go to the convention space. One thing you can do is see the dozens of sessions designed for DLI, particularly with the Immersion Special Interest Group or SIG there, by searching with the term Immersion in their online convention program. So you can see there's literally over 36 different sessions, and you can see what's of interest to you. One thing to note, too, is the ACTFL website has a lot of information about the convention, and so you see that there on the left-hand side of the screen where you can go to get all the information, including details about housing and registration. The ACTFL convention, like the Flank conference, has some scholarship opportunities. So if you are a full-time post-secondary student at a college or university, you can apply to get a student stipend award to go towards the ACTFL registration cost. Those applications are done online, and they're linked here on this slide as well as in the notes. And those are due by Friday, September 27th, so just a few days away. Also, we wanted you to know that NCDPI is offering an ESL Title III sponsorship, which is something that I think some of you are familiar with. You could apply to receive registration plus travel and lodging to attend the professional learning event in November if you apply by October 10th. And that will cover either the actual convention or the La Cosecha. You can apply for either one, as well as the ASCD conference that's coming up. When you apply, the focus is on supporting English learners, so that those are students in heritage language programs or particularly two-way dual language immersion, or they may be in other programs as well. Of course, we're very open to any option like that supports our English learners. Additional details are available on the slide deck that has been shared on listservs about this opportunity for a sponsorship. And everything is due, as I said, for November conferences like ACTFL and La Cosecha on October 10th. So you apply online by Thursday, October 10th. And this information, by the way, has been shared on listservs, like I said. It is also posted on websites, so you can find those links that you need to. One thing we can't forget to mention with the ACTFL convention is that in the days before that, preceding it, in the same location of Washington, D.C., is the NCDPI annual meeting. NCDPI is the National Association of District Supervisors of Foreign Languages. So those of you that are administrators of our DLI program or function in an administrative role, even if you are also teachers, may be interested in NCDPI. They do a lot of professional development for people in those kinds of roles, and their theme this year is We the People, Many Languages, One Voice. For details of registration, you can go to the link there on the slide. We also want to share with you an important update nationally for students. Nestle is a national security language initiative for youth, and they give scholarships. Right now, their scholarship applications are open for the 2020-2021 academic year, and they're due Wednesday, October 30th. Please know that though this scholarship application is a bit detailed for students to fill out, it is significant because this is an opportunity for students to study abroad either for a summer or an entire academic year. They have a variety of programs in 8 different languages. You'll see some of our DLI languages up there. Chinese, for example, is up there. And you might have DLI students who have gone through another language and want to add a 3rd language in this way. So the Nestle scholarships are for high school students. Students do have to be ages 15 to 18 when the program is happening, and they have to have at least a GPA of 2.5 or higher. Details are available on the website that you see posted there, and I would encourage you to look at that eligibility and share this information with your high school students, particularly if you have a DLI program that has reached the high school level, because sometimes our high school cohorts are looking for opportunities like this to expand their language proficiency even into other languages, or perhaps even more significantly in their DLI program language. All right, and so that ends our updates. So we were just going to ask you a quick question. Which of the update items will you use or share before this Friday? Will it be information about the national conferences, information about our regional and state conferences, the mini grants, sponsorships, and scholarships for educators, or the scholarships for students? So please go ahead. You can check all that apply here. It looks like actually we set it up technically for just one. So pick the one that you're going to share first before Friday. All right, go ahead and get your votes in. We'll take about 10 more seconds. All right, we'll close out and share the results. So as you can see, and as we kind of expected, the regional state conferences will probably be shared first. They're the ones that are coming up quite quickly, and also the easiest for us to all get to and learn from each other. We also have some people interested in sharing the scholarships for students, which is great, as well as folks interested in national conferences, the mini grants, scholarships, and sponsorships. So thank you for sharing that with us.
So we thank you for joining us today. We will take another minute for you to have any questions. Type into the chat box. It's a pretty small group. We can actually have you raise your hand if there's something you'd really like to ask that's a little too complicated to type into the chat box. We love having these guest speakers and the opportunity to share with you on a particular topic related to DLI education, and then also to give you these updates and encourage you to get involved. I do want to reiterate that the scholarship opportunities, sponsorship opportunities, have been sent out on various listservs. Those sponsorships are an opportunity for us to continue growing capacity across the state in working with English learners and working with DLI. If you apply for a sponsorship and are chosen, that sponsorship actually covers your registration for the conference, your housing, your travel, reimbursements of the different expenses involved. So we're very excited to offer that. If you are not already aware of that, go back and check your emails and your newsletters and get involved and share that with other educators. We really want to see our educators have the opportunity to grow that capacity across the state of North Carolina. Do we have any other questions in the question box, or anybody raising their hand wanting to ask any other questions?
I don't see anything now, but I would like to remind everyone about the website. We've got the bit.ly link there for our DLI website for the state. bit.ly/NCDLI site is where you need to go. And one thing we always do with these materials from our webinar is post them on the professional development page. As was mentioned earlier, we will post these in about 1 week. Sometimes we get them posted much earlier than that, but just in case we have technical problems, we want to have that 1 week guarantee for you out there. So look for that information on the website to be posted, where you can access the slides you saw today in several different formats, a recording of this broadcast, and other information that you may be interested in sharing locally. We do remember that many of you said you want to share this information locally. So we try to post it so that you can quickly download the slides and not have to remake a lot of materials in order to get it to your colleagues that need to see it.
And always, as you look at the DLI team, we hope you will think about the different members we have here at DPI. And we are always trying to model that cross-collaboration, working with AIG, Healthy Schools, Social Studies, K-12 STEM, ELA, Exceptional Children, MTSS, Virtual Public Schools, World Languages, and ESL. So we have a wealth of knowledge working together to help meet the needs of our DLI programs across the state. And we especially want to thank Kelly Schultz from ELA and Tom Daltrey from Social Studies for working with us today. Looks like we get to give them back a few precious moments.
All right. Don't forget, for those of you wanting to get the contact hour for licensure renewal, a couple of hours after we officially close out the webinar, the system will send you an email receipt with that information as well as the certificate. Do keep that for your records if you're wanting to do that. And again, like I said, the rest of our materials will be posted shortly from this webinar. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thank you.